What's up, guys? Welcome back to our the No Bullshit podcast. It's Coughlin,
What's up, what's Kyle?
and so yeah, we'll just get right straight into it, man. So divisional round weekend, man. It's crazy. A lot of good games. You could honestly say every game was amazing, man.
Yes.
Like one thing you could definitely say about this weekend is that NFL fans won.
Oh,
NFL fans won
absolutely.
because like this has been one of the most entertaining playoffs I've remembered.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, let's get right into it. And like the first game we got here is Texans versus Ravens. The score
Mm-hmm.
was 10 for the Texans and 34 to the Ravens. Kai, take it off.
Um, when you looking at all the scores from this weekend, you look at this one and you're like, oh, this was a blowout. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But for a good portion of this game, it was very close. You know what I mean? Like for a while, it was like 10-10, right? Especially after
Mm-hmm.
that, that kick return for a touchdown. That kind of, at least when I was watching, I was like, oh man, the
Mm-hmm.
Texans are still in it. But then kind of in that second half, the Ravens really came out and they really dominated, right? They showed the fact that, they are the better team and they
Mm-hmm.
have Super Bowl aspirations, you know what I mean? They look like a Super Bowl winning team, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I had a feeling, you know what I mean, like that the Texans would struggle in this game because, I mean,
Yeah.
that Ravens defense is real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback in his second playoff start to go up against that, level of defense and expect to come out with a win. You know what I mean? Especially on the road. You know what I mean? So no fault to CJ Stroud or D'Amico Ryans and what they did for this season because honestly, they were playing with house money. You know what I mean? Just the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they won their division, just the fact they made the playoffs, like that's a win, right? In your first year, so the fact that they even got a playoff win on top of that, that's definitely something to build off of. But listen, man, like I know playoffs have nothing to do with regular season awards,
Mm-hmm.
but this game it showed why Lamar Jackson's the MVP. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Over
100%,
100
man.
pass yards, over 100 rush yards, two touchdowns through the air, two touchdowns through the ground. Like he was the difference maker in this game. You know what I mean? He
Mm-hmm.
was clearly the best football player on that field.
Exactly. I mean, like just to add on to that, like I think the Texans being kind of new to the scene, especially with their team that they got now, right? With a young receiving core, a young QB at that, and some of the guys on defense is pretty young, and it definitely showed in this game, right? Like I feel like this game, if anything, experience really matters, right?
Absolutely.
And so like when you come against like you said, you come against a team that has like the number one defense, and they're physical and they're not going to give up anything easy. That's why the score is pretty low in the beginning of
Hmm.
the game, right, all the way to the first half, right? Like for the Texans, like they couldn't really get anything much on offense. Like they really needed that punt return touchdown they had
Yeah,
before the half, which
it's the only
like you
touchdown
said,
they had.
exactly, which made it 10-10, which is like shoot, we were like, oh, what if maybe this could have been the spark that they needed,
Uh huh.
right? But the difference, like you said, was like in the second half where they just came together in the locker room, had to talk with each other, there with the players, with the coaches, and say, yo, we got to show why we're the number one team in the NFL.
Yes,
Yeah, I said it. I'm a Niners fan. They are the number one team in the NFL right now until proven otherwise, right?
absolutely.
And so they rallied the troops. Lamar Jackson showed, like you said, why he's MVP. Man, you're talking about a guy with two touchdowns on the through the air, two touchdowns on the ground. This man's unstoppable, man. He's on a mission. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
He is on a fucking mission, man. But that said, like the Texans, all you can ask for is like just showing up against the Ravens and seeing that they actually put some effort into the game, right?
Hmm.
Especially when they kept it close. You're talking about a team that they were picking number 2 in the draft,
Hmm.
right? To like winning, like you said, winning a division and playing to the number 1 seed to its highest until like the first until like the second half. But like it was definitely a great season for them. And sure, the future is bright. The future is fucking bright, man.
Oh, 100%. And I feel like it's just levels to it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Ravens, they had a lot more pressure on them than the Texans did, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
your very first playoff game, I mean, going after the bye, you cannot lose to this Texans team, and they had a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pressure on them, right? And I feel as though it took that halftime for them to really make adjustments on offense because the defense was firing on all cylinders, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
game plan was clear and obvious. We are not going to give
Yep.
up any big plays, right? This is a big play offense. We're going to keep everything in front of us. We're going to tackle. We're not going to miss tackles. We're not going to miss assignments. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to make this quarterback beat us. We're going to make this offense beat us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, like you just said, like they just don't have the experience yet in order to kind of know their way through it, both the coaching staff and the players, and that comes with time. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely no shot or shade to the Texans. They played an amazing season, and yeah, the Ravens are moving on to the championship game.
Yeah, man, and it's a perfect transition to flipping over to the NFC side. You got another number one seed that's playing up
Mm-hmm.
against the the Packers who upsetted the number two seed in the pack and the Cowboys, right? So the Niners, I watched this game. We won 24-21, and man, for those who are watching the whole game, especially if you're a Niners fan, aka me, I was shitting my pants the whole time, bro.
Listen, I was shitting my pants for you, my brother.
Like I mean, shoot, like having 3 weeks of rest, right? Essentially
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks of rest. It definitely showed up in this game,
Yeah.
right? And it also didn't help when it also did rain as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
you, I mean, you saw replays. You saw ESPN posted on Instagram or whatever, right? On one of the dropbacks, Purdy literally dropped back and just wiped his hand, right? And then just
Mm-hmm.
sort of reached second, right, and just threw the ball, whatever, right? He was having. You can obviously tell Purdy had a rough 3 quarters. I'll say that
Mm-hmm.
he had a rough 3 quarters, but I know that the defense they were bending, but hey man, they did not fucking break. They did
No.
not fucking break. Right? And stopping the Packers on the first couple of drives early in the game, those were fucking big, man. Like
Huge.
stop holding them to three, and then holding them on a QB sneak on fourth down, right? And
Mm-hmm.
near the end of the game, yes, they missed the field goal, but like shoot, we stopped them after they had the Aaron Jones run that led to the missed field
Mm-hmm.
goal, right? I thought the game, I thought our season was over. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
over, right? But it goes to show that I've said this all season that our offense has been the reason why we won games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this game, when it mattered most, defense showed up. Defense definitely showed up, and credit to the fucking Packers. Credit to the
Yeah.
fucking Packers. Like, shoot, their defense, they play really well. They play really, really well, and then shoot, their offensive line. Like, I came here thinking like their offensive line was solid, right?
Mm-hmm.
They definitely played better than expected. But shoot, they they were moving Bosa, Chase Young around like it was nothing,
Uh-huh.
right? And it goes to show how much it's like, yo, it's like we wanted it more at that moment,
Yeah.
right? But all I gotta say is that there's one thing that I said last week. There's one thing I don't know if you guys remember from last week's episode when we made our predictions. I guess, for this week. I mean, for like the past weekend. But one thing I said was that when it matters most, right? I think Black Party is going to come through, right? I hesitate. I said I think, but I was like, wait, I know Brock Purdy's going to come
Mm-hmm.
through. And what the fuck happened on that
Yes,
last
sir.
scoring drive? Well, you needed to have it most, man. My man's
Mm-hmm.
went 7 for 8 or something like that, along the lines of that, right? And then drove them down the field for a Christian McCaffrey touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
man, right? And it goes to show, like, even like after the game ended and everything, right? Kittle was interviewed, right, after the game, and he mentioned that how the drive before the game winning drive, when Ray McLeod, our receiver, he ran the wrong route because he beat the man, right? Because the dude that was guarding him slipped, so he kept on running straight and get into open space. But the route he was supposed to run was an in breaking route, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of late to that, and Purdy was pissed. And
Yeah.
so he gathered the offense and just fucking told him, "Yo, make sure you do your thing, and we're gonna get these 7 points, right?" And that's what I'm talking about. You don't see a seventh round last pick of the draft doing this shit, man. You
Hmm.
don't see this often, right? And so definitely that last score, that last scoring drive was a legacy moment, man. That was a legacy defining moment. And shoot, he has another opportunity against the Lions this week, but we'll get into
Hmm.
that, right? And so you know, so yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I got to say for right now about that game.
yeah. I mean, the story of this game was, turnovers, right? Like
Yeah.
when you have two good football teams, it just comes down to who takes care of the football. And,
Mhm.
as great as Jordan Love played up until this point, and even in this game, right, he had two bad turnovers. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That and with that last one, it's the cardinal sin. You know what I mean? You can't roll out to your right, throw back across the middle of the field, right? That's something that you're taught on day one of QB 101. You never
Mhm.
do that, right? So, and he's a young quarterback, right? This is his first season getting the full start, so he's kind of similar in the same situation as a CJ Stroud. And
Mhm.
same thing to those guys with the Packers. Like they have a very bright future, right? This next season is going to be very interesting to see. You know what I mean? How they build off of this momentum. But similarly to to the Ravens, it's just something I believe, right? And I kept telling my homies that are Eagles fans, but listen,
Yeah.
good teams find ways to win. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It doesn't always have to be, pretty, doesn't always have to be a blowout, but good teams find ways to win, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, that's what the 49ers did. Like a lot of people are gonna say, oh, missed kick, luck this, luck that, but that's football. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
every play counts, every play matters, right? Because it's a game of inches, right? Like both teams missed field goals. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, it's with the opportunities that you're given, what do you do with them, right? And Dre Greenlaw, he listen, he
Oh
took
my
advantage
god.
of his opportunities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are plays where if he doesn't get those interceptions, we may be talking about a whole different matchup next round. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, but this is the thing, right? Like you need talent, and especially in the fourth quarter, those stars need to show up, and those
Exactly.
stars did, right? And it was an impressive win. You know what I mean? It's a very impressive win under the 49ers belt.
Mhm.
Um, like you just said, coming off of basically 3 weeks of rest, obviously it was a lot of rust.
Mhm.
Um, but speaking of, the Lions, like that's going to be the matchup next week. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And they had a very, very, very good game against the Buccaneers,
Yep.
right? And so far, my predictions, I was 2 for 2, but this is the first one I predicted wrong, right? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and to be quite honest, the score doesn't really show the true story to this game. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Really, in that fourth quarter, the Lions really put the game away. There was a late touchdown scored by the Buccaneers, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm a Ross St. Brown. He was pretty quiet last week. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? This week he was not. He was all over the field. You know what I mean? And listen, same thing with Mike Evans, right? He had an amazing game. You know what I mean? And if this is the last game that he plays as a Buccaneer, that he fucking end off with a bang. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but similarly, I just feel like at least on that day the Lions are just a better team. Um, you know what I mean? Their defense got stops when you need to get stops, and again, turnovers, right?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield was having an amazing season, amazing postseason. It was the turnovers. You know what I mean? And in the playoffs, like that's gonna kill you. It's very hard to win games in general with turnovers, but let alone in the playoffs when you're playing the best of the best.
And it goes to show, like, right, like Baker did turn over the ball 2 times for sure, right? But hey, man, I don't know if you saw did you watch the whole game, that whole
Yeah.
Bucks? Like, I don't know if you remember, but like, shoot, I think Levante David, the linebacker, he had a chance to pick the ball off, man. No, 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 I don't think it was a linebacker. I think it was one of the corners actually.
Mm-hmm.
They had a chance to pick the ball off in the red zone, and it was in there, and it was in their hands. It was in their hands, but
Mm-hmm.
he dropped it, right? And it goes to show that, like, who knows? Maybe they get that pick, and it might be a different story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you never know. But like you said, like these games, like when it gets to the playoffs, the turnover differential is going to be very very key. because you cannot be given another opponent, especially if their offense is like, even if their offense is like not clicking versus they are clicking, it just gives them
Mm-hmm.
another opportunity to like find a way to score and just like start something, right? And
Yep.
so this whole game it just shows how the Lions just you know been dominant all season. If you want to really put
Mm-hmm.
it that way, right?
Yeah.
You do want to talk about Jameer Gibbs, who ever since he had the injury, right, early on in the season. After that injury, he's been going on a tear. He's been going
Yes.
on a tear, man. You're talking about
Absolutely.
two. I think you have two running backs with 1,000 yards and both each having you know 10 touchdowns each. That's insane. That's insane, man. And
Very
when you talk
dangerous
about
backfield.
and when you talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, shoot, like the way I don't know, the way they have this offense going where they got Goff and Amon-Ra, that connection is just like synergy, man. Like
Yes.
it's like every time Goff is targeting Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's gonna catch it no matter what, right? They just have this connection, just hold these past like back half of the season and carrying on to the playoffs. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll get into like that big matchup, that big heavyweight matchup,
Mm-hmm.
in the NFC Championship. But like with that said, let's get right into like the last matchup of the divisional round, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a big one. It was a very very big one, right? And it was the Chiefs versus the Bills. So obviously the Chiefs they squeezed it out, 27-24. But
Mm-hmm.
go right ahead, bro.
You know, um, yet again, I started 2-2.
Yeah.
Well, 2 for 2. I finished, 50%, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, like the main, reason I picked against the Chiefs is I just hate the Chiefs. You know what I mean? It's hard not to hate the Chiefs. Um,
I don't
and
blame you.
yet
You are the
again,
Chargers fan.
listen, yet again, they somehow find a way to win. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people may look at the missed field goal and you know what I mean, but for me, the story of this game was where the fuck did Stephon Diggs go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just like we said earlier, like in these games, your stars have to show up. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
14 did not show up for this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if he mentally wasn't there. I don't know if what's going on. But that drop pass, that was the
Yeah.
difference between a win and a loss. You know what I mean? And it's that the space for error is so small in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where just one play, all it takes is one play. Again, especially when you're playing the best teams in the NFL, you can't give them anything. You
Yeah.
have to be perfect. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the Bills just weren't. I don't blame this loss on coaching. I don't blame this loss on Josh Allen. Josh Allen played his ass off. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he figuratively and literally carried this team. You know what I mean? Whether it's through the air, whether it was with his legs, he came to play.
Mm-hmm.
It was just unfortunate, but that's why football is the ultimate team sport because you need all 22 plus special teams to all show up firing on all cylinders, right? Like, and when we look at the history of the Bills and the Chiefs, we thinking high flying, bombs down the field, but this was a slow burn. You know what I mean? This was
Yeah.
a grinded out, run the football game from both sides. I don't know about you guys, but going into that game, that's not what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Defenses, they got stops when they needed to. It was a very good game, right? Like, if you take away, the Chiefs winning and all this, like, just the game itself, it
Yeah.
was a great football game to watch. Um, but, Chiefs just found a way.
Yeah, man. Just to add on to that real quick, like it just sucks, man, and it sucks for Josh Allen. It sucks for the Bills Mafia in general, man, because like they've been they've been butted at the they've been trying to get a chance to that back
They
of
shoveled
the
all that
AFC
snow.
Championship. Exactly, and yeah, talking about shoveling all that snow for nothing, right? But like you said, Josh Allen, he played one hell of a game. Man, you want to talk about Lamar Jackson have an MVP type of performance? Josh Allen definitely had one of those, that day as well, man. And like you said, the margin of error is so slim, man. Like you got to make plays when you got to have them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's on the offensive or defensive side, right? The defense they did get stops, right? You're talking about that big goal line fumble into the end
Mm-hmm.
zone, right? And you didn't do nothing with it. You turn it over
Mm-hmm.
on downs. You didn't do nothing because you didn't really do much with it on that, right? And sure, you want to talk about, oh, he should have thrown Diggs on that drag route, right? But Josh Allen taking that shot down the end zone, that was the right play, man. The only reason why he wasn't able to make it was because it's pressure in his face, so like the ball
Yeah.
came up but just a little bit short. But that was the right throw, man.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely the right throw. I mean, like you said, hindsight is 2020, right? But I think if Josh Allen had to do it over, he would do it again. He'll
Oh,
take that
100%.
same fucking throw, man.
Listen,
And
if I was him, I would make that throw, right? Like you're going for the
mhm,
win. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like
100%.
and like you said, the route was open. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It was just the timing was off, and that he had pressure in his face. It happens. It's football.
Exactly. And the one thing, this whole week, I've seen so much, hate thrown at like Josh Allen for no reason, talking about, oh, about, maybe it's time to stop talking about, oh, these players didn't do this, these players didn't do that, right? What are you talking about? This man, Josh Allen, has been carried every single game they play against the Chiefs in the playoffs, has been going off, right?
He's
And it's,
shown up
and it's
every single
never been
time.
his fault. It's never has been, right? And I don't understand why you want to bring it up now that it's like the fourth time or whatever, right? And they lost again because he didn't show up. That does not fly with me because, like you said, there's a lot of plays that he threw. He threw the ball deep down the field a few times, right?
Hmm.
Receivers got to make that play. Talking about Stephon Diggs here, man. Talking about a guy that some people regard as like a top five, maybe top three receiver in the league, right?
Hmm.
Definitely one of the so definitely in my opinion like a top three, what's it called, route runner
Route
for
runner.
sure,
Hmm.
right? This man, he got targeted 8 times, only caught the ball 3 times for what, 20 something yards. That's not gonna cut it, bro.
Not
That
at
is
all.
not gonna cut it. Oh, yeah, I
Not at all.
understand that you got a good defense. I understand you got a good cornerback, guarding you, but you gotta show up. You
Have
just gotta
to.
show up, man. And you know what?
And
As
it,
much as as
it,
much as it can go on the Bills,
hmm
like you said, the best teams and the good teams always find a way to win, right?
hmm
And the Chiefs, when they had the ball, they did the most with it. That's all I
Absolutely.
know, right? You know, they didn't, need for it to come down to a field goal. They didn't need for it to come down to like certain turnovers here and there, right? When it was their time to have the ball, they went got points. They didn't punt. They got
Hmm.
fucking points, right?
And
So
listen, if who's to say if they make that field goal that the Chiefs don't go down and kick a field goal of their own, right? It was plenty
exactly.
of time left on the clock for them to go
Mhm.
down the field and do something, right? But to your point about the Josh Allen thing, and then we'll move on.
Mhm.
One of the biggest issues I have with sports media, and one of the biggest things that we're trying to do differently here is we're not here to give you bullshit takes just to get
Mhm.
clicks. You know what I mean? But when
Exactly.
you got motherfuckers like Ryan Clark and Emmanuel Acho talking out their
It's
fucking
stupid, bro.
ass,
It's
it
stupid.
sometimes it makes you like wonder like, did they take too many hits to the head? Right? Because the game that we were watching, the game that most of America was watching, was not the game that these two are watching. Right? We're talking about Josh Allen, doesn't have that dog in him, or he's not clutch, or like you're painting this picture as if in all these losses to the Chiefs that Josh Allen was the reason, and that's just not the case. The fact of the matter is Josh Allen is a top 5 to 3 quarterback in this league.
Mhm.
You can win multiple Super Bowls with Josh Allen, right? But again, it's a
100%.
team game. You can't only have Josh Allen and expect to win, right? The
Mhm.
other guys have to do their jobs. And I get it, you know what I mean? You want to make these claims, and you want to, stir the pot and get comments and all this shit. But to be honest, it's a spit in the face to the integrity of the game. You know what I mean? When
Mm-hmm.
you're running all these narratives that honestly don't, they're like you're recounting history in the wrong way. If you actually watch these games, if you're actually present and can appreciate the talent when it's being played, you
Mm-hmm.
would realize, oh, okay, maybe these guys didn't watch the same game, right? But I can rant about this shit, all day. But you know,
Yeah.
let's talk about these matchups for next week.
Yeah, let's get right into it, man. Like you said, we could talk about the Bills and everything about the media, but like you said, that's a topic for another day that we can dive into more, right, in the future. But
Mm-hmm.
the main focus, like things happen, things happen the way it happened, and shit, we're finally here at the championship week, man. Championship
Mm-hmm.
week, man, and boy, do we honestly, I don't know about you, but I think these are the best four teams in the whole league, right?
I mean, they
I
proved it.
exactly. I mean, I feel like the Lions and the Niners, they've been the two best teams in the NFC all year, all year, just throughout the whole from beginning to end, right? And I feel like say what you want about the Bills or Dolphins or whatever, the Browns even, right? I think the Chiefs and the Ravens were the best two teams in the AFC, right? But
Record be damned. It doesn't matter what your record is, right? When you get into the
exactly.
playoffs, the best teams find ways to win. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you can't say that you're not. You can't say you're the best team in the league or you're one of the best teams in the league and you didn't make it to the championship, right? I
Mhm.
don't care what your record is, right? It is like all your record does is just it gives us kind of a gauge of kind of where you're at, right? But once you get into the playoffs, right? Like if you asked me before the playoffs, these wouldn't be my top four teams, right? But they proved it.
Mhm.
So this is what I want to save this matchup for last because I feel as though it's just going to be fucking fireworks. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And not to say that this other game isn't going to be as exciting or exciting at all, but
Mhm.
I want to talk about the Lions and the 49ers first, right? I want to talk about your squad, right?
Yeah.
Me personally, I am leaning heavily in you guys' favor. I feel as though matchup wise, you guys match up very well against this team. You know what I mean? And like similarly to where we talked about, the Texans and the Browns earlier this playoffs, right? I feel as though the gap between your offense and their defense is greater than their offense against your defense. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I feel as though you guys are the more balanced team. I feel like you guys are a more talented team. I feel like you guys have the better quarterback. I feel like you guys have the better coach, right? You have the home field advantage. And again, any given Sunday, right?
Mhm.
But I feel as though if I'm a 49ers fan, I'm pretty confident going into this game.
Yeah, man. And, let's dive into it. Like, coming to this game, a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, is Debo going to play? Is he not going to play? How's the Niners going to game plan without him?" Well, shit, we found out our answer today, man. We found out our
Mm-hmm.
answer today. Debo is 100% clear and ready to go, right? And one of the guys, asked a question. Say, "Yo, we hear that you're going to be playing the game. What are you going to do to protect yourself?" His response was, he said, "I ain't protecting shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to strap up and go."
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're talking about a game where it gets you to the Super Bowl, and then you got like what 2 weeks of rest or whatever, essentially, right? It's go time, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like being a Niners fan, it's not easy. It's not fucking easy. I'll tell you that much, man. Like I've been heartbroken so many times, right? But this year, there's no excuse for us to not win that game. There is no excuse, and I,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't care if you get injured or whatever, right? If Purdy, God forbid that he does not get injured, by the way, but
Mm-hmm.
even if he does get injured, we have two extra quarterbacks that we got, right? We literally the league, made a rule because of the Eagles and Niners game to let us carry a third quarterback on the roster without counting towards the 53-man roster,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there is no excuse for us to lose that game, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that said, getting into the matchup wise, offense versus their defense, I love the matchup. I really love the
Absolutely.
matchup, man.
Barbecue
Especially
chicken
when
alert.
like I see that. I see the their cornerbacks, their linebackers. I'll say this: the Lions, although their defense has been shaky, they have been playing this unique defense that I do kind of like from them. Right? They play a three safety defense, right,
Mm-hmm.
to combat their defensive back woes and their corners. Right? That means that they put Brian Branch or C.J. Gardner Johnson at the slot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the big big matchup is not even on it's not even like our main guys on offense or defense, right? I think it's the trenches in general, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You want to talk about the Lions? They they have probably one of the best run defenses in the league, man.
Mm-hmm.
They have not let a 70-yard rusher all season, including
Mm-hmm.
playoffs. But I think that ends today, man. I mean, this weekend. You talking about CMC? It's time to feed CMC, man. The best
Mm-hmm.
offensive player in football, right? And I think Brock Purdy and CMC is gonna cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say this though. I will say this: the Lions will have theirs. The Lions will have theirs. I'll go. I'll give them that. I'm not gonna take the Lions lightly or anything, because I seen what just happened last week, and maybe it was just rust, and maybe because it was the rain, because a lot of people were slipping, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you talking about a Lions team, like I said earlier, they have two 1,000-yard rushers. They have a great O line. But the big thing is, people, that's why we wait until Friday to record these podcasts, or even Thursday, right? We find out more about injury report. And
Mm-hmm.
lo and behold, we got their starting left guard is out, right? You're talking about their backup that came in last week, right? He only played like 80 something snaps on the year, and that's including playoffs. He allowed, I think 13, 16 pressures, right? But when you talk
Not
about
good.
but you talking about their starting left guard, he only allowed that much in like 100 more snaps,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a big problem. So we got to cook in the inside, because I know they're outside on the outside. They're going to get theirs because they have two very great tackles, probably two of the best young tackles in the league, man.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Especially Panay Sewell. Like, people want to say that, they should have took a receiver instead or whatever, right? But Panay Sewell was always the right pick, right? You get a guaranteed guy that will be there for like years to come,
Mm-hmm.
decades, man. Like I said, trenches. Whoever dominates the trenches and whoever is able to control the run game and the clock is going to win the
Mm-hmm.
game, right? And like I said, Brock Purdy, he will get this will be a defining game, because coming this game, a lot of people just a lot like I said about Josh Allen, a lot of people is throwing a lot of hate at Brock Purdy's way for no goddamn reason, no
Mm-hmm.
goddamn reason, right. Like I know I'm rambling a lot, but like I just gotta get this off my chest. Like, I've been
Mm-hmm.
saving this all the way up to Friday, man. And like, the thing about Purdy is that, like, Purdy, we should be rooting for this man, because he is the NFL's biggest story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say what you want, he is the NFL's biggest story. You're talking about Mr. Irrelevant taking the team to the NFC Championship twice in his first 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? It has a chance to go to the Super Bowl and win it, right? But people instead want to bash him, and it's like, he's not good, he's not that. Jared Goff is better than Brock Purdy. Stop. Just stop it, man. Just stop, right? And this game will definitely show, because I think he's gonna. I think he has a big game. I think he has a very big game. Because
Mm-hmm.
every time people want to talk shit about Purdy, he always shuts them up. He always shuts them up, right? And like I said, I even got a score prediction. I got a score prediction for you.
Okay.
You know, I think that when you talk about covering the spread, I don't think we necessarily cover the spread. I do think it's gonna be close, and it's gonna be decided in the fourth quarter. I don't think nobody's gonna
Mm-hmm.
run away from it necessarily, right? But I think we pull away in the fourth quarter, and we win 31-26.
Okay.
31-26.
26 is a weird number, but okay. Okay.
Yeah. I,
Listen, I'm rocking with it.
yeah, man. But yeah, man. I got the Niners winning. Kai got the Niners winning. But coming up to the big one of probably you could argue say an equally or even better matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, AFC matchup. Talking about basically, honestly, you want to talk about it? Two of the best quarterbacks in the league right now,
Listen, talk about it.
right? And we got the Chiefs versus the Ravens. Ravens are at hey, the Ravens. This is the first time they've hosted a AFC Championship game in since like I think 30 or 40 years, right? So this is definitely a big game for Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
This is when you talking about a legacy defining moment. This is hit right now. He got to show up.
Listen,
He got
besides
to
the
show
Super
up.
Bowl, it doesn't get any bigger. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like when you got Ravens legends being honored. When you got a halftime show, like all the theatrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's put up or shut up at this point.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, and this is I feel as though matchup wise, this is a great matchup. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like, as much shit as I give the Chiefs, like they have a good defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be interesting to see how they try to limit the Ravens' running game because so far this season, no one's been able to do it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? No one has been able to stop these guys on the ground, right? And when you talk about, getting guys back, I don't know if there's a single player that, means more to their offense than Mark Andrews, right?
Mm-hmm.
Likely has been balling in his absence, but getting 89 back, like that's a major boost to that offense, right? Where now it's a guy that now you have to double, right? You cannot leave Mark Andrews on an island. This is a guy you have to give extra attention to, right? So it'll be very interesting to see how Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham and even a likely really take advantage of that, right? To see how that opens up the run game because you can try to stop the run, but again, if you leave 89 1-on-1, kiss them goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And just as dominant as that run game has been, that defense, man, like those guys are fucking scary. I would not want to be an offensive coordinator or a quarterback trying to prepare for these guys in the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and the Chiefs have a solid old line, but these guys, like, they're physical. When they hit you, you go down. You know what I mean? Every single time you go across that middle, you're thinking about is Patrick Queen over here? Is Roquan Smith over here? Is Kyle Hamilton over here? You know what I mean? Among a whole bunch of other guys, they got a Humphrey back. Like these guys are about as healthy as they've been all season, right? And again, the Chiefs have they've gotten two good wins, right? And you know, first round I picked against them, second round I picked against them,
Yeah.
and this third round I'm still gonna pick against them, man. The third time's the charm, right? And Lamar we trust. Lamar will put these motherfuckers down. Right? I want to see Chiefs fans crying. I want to see Taylor Swift crying. Right? Listen. This is America's team. You know what I mean? Everybody will talk about the Cowboys. No, the Ravens are America's team, man. Send these motherfuckers home.
Hey man, like you said, this is a heavyweight matchup right here, right? You like I said earlier. You got two of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like it's put up or shut up, right? It's put up or shut up. Like nobody cares you got the number one seed. Nobody cares. Nobody cares you're at home. On it,
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, right? Because you know when you got a quarterback who's arguably top five in all time right now already, right? Some people say that. Some people say that. Some people say that. But like shit. You talking about a guy who's on track to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time, right? But Lamar, he has a chance. We always talk about it's Patrick Mahomes and everybody else, right? But people got to realize the magnitude of the Ravens winning and losing the game is so drastically we
Mm-hmm.
can have two different perspectives and narratives on Lamar Jackson, right?
Absolutely.
If he wins the game, right, he has a good chance to go to the Super Bowl and win that game, right, and become a guy that we think about like, yo, like wait a minute, it's not just Patrick Mahomes and everybody else. It's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar,
Oh,
right?
listen.
And so
Or
like,
you can make the argument. Listen,
okay,
I ain't gonna say nothing, but you can make the argument.
about Patrick Mahomes being maybe the lesson to Lamar. Who knows? Who knows, right? I know this man Makai. He's been talking about he's been hinting at it, or not even hinting. He's just been really coming out and saying that in our football group chat, he's like, hey man, we gotta talk about it. If they
Listen,
somehow win the
if
Super Bowl,
if number 8 is able to get a second MVP and a Super Bowl, maybe a Super Bowl MVP, you could have a question of who would you rather take, right? Who is the better player? Is it
mm-hmm.
15 or is it 8? I feel as though, like you said, the difference between the conversation that we can have, that conversation compared to if the Ravens don't get it done is
Mm-hmm.
completely different, right? We're talking about being from maybe number 1 to being top 5. You know what I mean? Which, listen, being a top 5 quarterback is nothing to scoff at, right? Every single team in this league wants a guy like that. But
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about singular individual legacy, they're huge.
Yeah, I mean, and like getting detail like the matchup. I think the most important thing, similarly to the Niners and Eagles, Niners and Eagles, fuck the Eagles, but to the Eagles and Lions game, it's going to be down to the Chiefs tackles versus the Ravens edge rushers,
Mm-hmm.
because those tackles, for what people want to say, they've been suspect. I'm pretty sure those two tackles that they have, have combined together for like I think probably the most penalties in the league, and that's
Mm-hmm.
insane, man. Right? And you can't be doing that against the Ravens because they want you to get backed up. They want
Uh-huh.
you, right? Because they want to get you them passing downs, and they will hunt you. They will go
Yes.
after you, man. And we've seen it before when the Chiefs' O line can't protect, that Patrick Mahomes is gonna have a long, long day, man. I mean, we've seen it. We definitely seen it
Mm-hmm.
before. I mean, it might not go to the lengths of the Super Bowl when they play against the Bucks, where he's literally running for his life, right? But it can get somewhat close to it, and
Mm-hmm.
and for the Chiefs, they have to be perfect, because or else this game can get really, really ugly,
Real
man.
fast.
Because this defense is scary. It's you
Mm-hmm.
can arguably say it's a historic defense. You could arguably say that.
Listen, if the Ravens are able to end this season with a championship, like we
Mm-hmm.
we might have to have a conversation of, is this the best defense since the Legion of Boom? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
Like, this defense, in terms of production, in terms of personnel, they are of that caliber, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the only difference is they have to be able to have that hardware to come with it. You know what I mean? If they're able to, win it all, these are going to be very interesting questions that we're we talked about Lamar, but this entire team, right? Just a lot of legacy questions that could be answered with them winning it all. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I predict the Ravens to win. I predict the 49ers to win. I think it'd be a 2012 matchup, rematch. And
And
it'd be
boy,
very interesting to see what happens. I don't think it's going to be a blackout this time.
I don't think so either. And hey, man, if the Niners are able, no, if and when the Niners are able to beat the Lions, right? We will know who we will play in the
Hmm.
Super Bowl. We will know, right? And regardless, when we win, it's going to be a Super Bowl rematch, right? The quest for six,
Either way.
the quest for six, man. And so all I gotta say is like, damn, these are two really good matchups, man. And I don't think we've seen something like this in a minute, right?
Hmm.
Right? I'm sure we don't want to talk about whatever about last year, how those were two good matchups, but this is different. This is so different, right? When you got Ravens versus Chiefs, you got Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift fans and Chiefs fans just say, oh shit, Patrick Mahomes, will he get a third ring or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Same old story. And then you got you got Ravens flock, right? Talking about, yo, this is a legacy defining game, and shoot, just screw legacy defining game. This is a legacy defining weekend for all teams, right? You're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the Lions. They haven't made it to the Super Bowl in so long.
I
Heck,
don't
to
think they've
even
ever made the Super Bowl.
yeah, and heck, they, even to like the NFC Championship, right? And then you talking about the Niners. They've been knocking at the door for so long, but
Mm-hmm.
is this your year to get it? Who knows, right? Only the the writing is on the wall. The writing is on the wall. It's time, right? Like Debo said, I'm not protecting shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's go time. It's go time, man. And
Just put
so
up or shut up.
with that said, man, this is a time for you guys to like, put the drop down in the comments of what you guys think about, about the playoffs so far. Let us know. Like, don't even just talk to us about the championship week, divisional round. Also talk about the wild card round and stuff like that, right? Talk about how amazing this whole playoff run has been for everybody, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be the teams that's in the championship week, but just all the teams that made the playoffs, right? We
Mm-hmm.
want to get different takes from like all you guys from about like different players, different teams, different coaches, et cetera, man. And I want to give a big shout out to all you guys for the past two videos because you guys show some amazing support, man.
Listen.
This channel is only growing. This channel is only growing.
Yeah, you know, we do this because we have fun with it. I mean, we love talking football. We love
Mm-hmm.
football. We love sports. But the support that we've gotten on these past two videos, like that's the battery in our back. You know what I mean? Like when we see you guys commenting, we see you guys liking, sharing, viewing. You know what I mean? That motivates us to be like, hey man, like this could be something we should keep pushing forward. So,
Yes,
like you
sir.
said, very looking forward to you guys seeing your guys' takes and comments. But we'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. And like Kai said, after this pod, shoot, when it's Pro Bowl week, we're gonna be dropping down a lot of content, man. Be on the lookout for that because that's gonna be our time for the just boast out a lot of stuff that you guys haven't seen yet, right? And so, but yeah, like I said, make sure you guys comment down below. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and hit the like button. And shoot, give us ideas about like what we could do better. Even like I said, we're still starting stuff up. Heck, we don't really have an intro or outro video or you know whatever you want to call it. Right, we're still working on that. But later down the line, we'll get things all crispy and everything. So yeah, man. Like I said, have a nice day, guys. You know, watch the great game that we got going on this Sunday. With that said, it's been Conklin and Kai. Peace out.